There's all sorts of things that people are self-conscious about, whether it's their boobs or their butt or their hips or their tummy, that kind of factor into how we choose swimsuits.
I'm Christine Sear-Clisette.
I'm Rosie Guerin, and you're listening to The Wirecutter Show.
Rosie, it is everyone's favorite time of year.
You're going to have to give me a clue as to where you're going.
I was going to ask you all sorts of questions about, like, whether you're trying to go for your beach body. That's really an outdated term.
Have you met me?
Well, I'm not either. So I was just say that I'm actually quite excited to talk about this today because it's a product category that I'm kind of obsessed with. Swimsuits.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about swimsuits?
I don't feel good about swimsuits. And I feel like I could use practical advice on how to find one that I will actually like, wear, and not spend a ton of money on.
It's actually quite a challenge. You have thrown down the challenge that we are going to try to solve this episode. I have maybe a little bit of a problem. I buy so many swimsuits. I just counted, and I think I have over 15 swimsuits.
I did not know this about you.
And I do lap swim, so some of them are lap swimsuits. But I, over the years, have just bought so many swimsuits because my body has changed a lot over the last decade or so. I've had 2 kids. There have been times where I've felt more confident or less confident. And so, I've bought a ton of swimsuits, and I actually have to put a moratorium on my swimsuit buying. But I do love the way I feel in a good swimsuit, and I hate swimming in a bad swimsuit. So I'm excited to talk about how to shop for one you'll really love. So today we're going to have our senior style writer, Zoe Vanderweide, on the show. She is a real expert on swimsuits. She has written a lot of our style guides, and including guides that are kind of related to swimming. So for bras and shapewear. So she just knows a lot about the brands that are great right now, how to go about shopping for them, and how to think about, what you're looking for to help you find something you'll really like.
On the site, we have coverage of women's swimsuits. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today with Zoe.
Yeah.
What I love, too, is that this episode was inspired by a listener question. We love our listeners, and we encourage you. Send us your questions.
That is right. You guys have such great ideas. We'd love to hear more. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Zoe.
I'm going to learn a little something from Zoe.
We're both going to. Welcome back. Today's guest is Zoe Vanderweide. Zoe's a style writer at Wirecutter, and she's written guides to the best bras, the best underwear, and the best shapewear, amongst many other guides. And for our swimsuit guide, she led testing for women's swimsuits, and she tested 50 swimsuits with a range of people to narrow it down to 15 picks. Zoe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
We're very happy to have you here. So, Zoe, we'd been talking as a team about doing an episode on swimwear. And then one day we got an email. We love getting emails from our listeners. We got an email from a listener called Allison. And Allison said, I was wondering if you would do an episode on swimwear. I don't necessarily love going to the pool or beach, but I have 3 small children who do. I'm really just looking to be covered and comfortable and maybe a little cute in my postpartum body while chasing them around. Relatable. So we're going to dedicate today's episode to Allison with thanks for the suggestion and hopes that we can point her in the right direction. I think we can.
Yeah, I think we can. I think Allison is really pinpointing a problem that a lot of people tend to have, if they've gone through some kind of body change. I think it's easy to find a bathing suit for many people when they're younger. I'm curious, in your research for testing swimwear, what were you looking for? And who would you say the picks in our guide are really for? Because obviously swimwear is like a vast topic. There are many, many different styles, but we only have 15 picks in the guide.
Yeah, totally. So first of all, I want to say thank you, Allison, for the question. Very relatable. For context, I'm a mom. I'm 6 months pregnant with my next kid right now. And so I completely the dressing for your changing shape and your postpartum body is very much top of mind for me. Typically in all of our style guides, we're looking to make recommendations of things that are good quality, that are going to have a decent lifespan, that have kind of like a classic, timeless aesthetic, nothing too trendy, nothing too
Outlandish.
nothing too outlandish, nothing overly embellished. But, we wanted to find things that were going to work for a variety of different people. Of course, swimwear is not one size fits all. And there are so many different bodies and body shapes and preferences out there. And so, we did our best to try and capture a wide breadth of taste and things that are going to work for different bodies.
In the case of swimwear, how does the sizing come about? And I'm asking this because I'm wondering how you were size inclusive and thought about that when you were doing the research and testing for these swimsuits.
Yeah. When we were thinking about being size inclusive, the best way that we have as testers of doing this is to include people with different body sizes and shapes in our testing panel. So, it's not just me testing swimsuits because I really have my own limited perspective living in my own limited body. We try and bring in people that maybe represent a variety of body types and a variety of, quote, pain points or things that they're looking to solve for.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
So in the group, we had 4 testers, and we ranged in size from, a women's dress size 4 to 18. We ranged in bra size from A cups to E cups. Tall girl problems in swimsuits is a real thing. And our tallest tester was 6 feet tall, so we got a lot of tall girl feedback as well.
Now, I know, Zoe, some of the brands you tested and picked had a wider range of sizes than others. Can you explain from a design perspective how different brands size their suits? I know that in clothing, a size from one brand, let's say Old Navy, might be completely different than the same size at, say, Target or J.Crew.
Yeah, totally. So, when a swimsuit or any article of clothing gets designed, the designer creates a design, and then there's a pattern maker who cuts patterns that get sewn. And then there's a fit model who represents the brand's target demographic. Their body is designed to be sort of like in the middle of who this swimsuit is intended for. A lot of times in the industry, a fit model is like a size 6. And the purpose of the fit model is to try on the pattern on a real body and then to make adjustments for how it fits on a real 3-dimensional human being. But the thing is that if you always have size 6 fit models, you really are designing for a very specific body type. And it's not going to work for everybody.
That's also, I don't think, commensurate with the sort of average size.
Well, I think the average American woman is like a size 14 or something.
It's like a 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
So when we say average, we definitely don't mean the average American woman. We mean the middle of where that brand is marketing to, what they envision as their consumer.
Yeah. But just to be clear, with the brand who has a fit model that's a size 6, they are then scaling their pattern up or down for different sizes. So they're taking that size 6 pattern and scaling it up to like a size 14 or whatever. But the proportions are all the same as the 6, as
Correct.
the size 6, right? So plus size fit models, tell us what that means.
So that means that they are creating distinct patterns for different size people. And a lot of brands that have specific plus size lines or that have specific big bust lines or whatever are doing this. They are creating new patterns to fit the different lines for different types of bodies, different consumers. Because it's not realistic to think that a size 2 is just a miniaturized version of a size 14.
Yeah,
or that, you know what I mean?
silly.
And even then, no matter what you do, you're never going to fit everybody because everybody has different proportions. And when you're basing it on one person's body and their proportions, you're taking a guesstimate. You're saying, okay, I think these are ordinary proportions, but
You're going to miss folks.
you're going to miss people who have bigger hips, bigger boobs, smaller waists, longer torsos, whatever.
Well, to that point around the pain points, as you were doing the research, I know it wasn't just about testing with your panel. I know you did You probably read a lot of reviews. You probably, really kind of locked into the problems that people are talking about on the internet. What are the biggest pain points that you found that people tend to have when they're shopping for a swimsuit?
I think it is going to depend very much on your body, but like some really common ones that you see are people who are looking for a top that is supportive for a larger bust, for instance. People who are looking for a one piece that is long enough to fit on a longer torso or a taller body. And then there's all sorts of things, like people just want something that provides coverage that they're comfortable with. Some people like a lot, like a high cut leg and a cheeky bum coverage. Other people want things, totally covered. Some people want something that's going to feel more compressive and sort of containing around the midsection. There's all sorts of things that people are self-conscious about, whether it's their boobs or their butt or their hips or their tummy, that kind of factor into how we choose swimsuits.
Zoe, at home, we talk about how bodies are cool. So it was inspired by this really great children's book. I thought about that book a lot as I read your guide. The reality is that there are parts of our bodies, as our bodies change, that maybe we want to emphasize or maybe we want to de-emphasize. So I want to ask you to suggest some swimsuit cuts, maybe shapes, maybe patterns, even materials for drawing attention to or away from certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do it?
We're all on our own self-love and self-acceptance
cool. It's all
journey.
Good.
But it's okay to meet people where they're at, and we're not all, of course, we can't expect ourselves to all be 100% great with everything. So some common things that come up. Like one, a lot of people want to disguise the look of lumps and bumps and texture and ripples and loose skin and things like that. When it comes to that, my recommendation would be, one, you want a suit that's made from like a thicker fabric that's fully lined. And two, texture. A ribbed suit has vertical lines and this sort of distracting texture. In the guide, we recommend a couple crinkle suits, and those are really great as well for anyone who just doesn't want to feel so naked in their swimsuit. It's such a clingy fabric. If you don't want it to feel so second skin, having a little texture in there helps. Another popular sort of solve for this is ruching. I'm not the hugest fan of ruching.
Is ruching like when it kind of gathers on the sides?
Yeah, so it's actually, my dress that I'm wearing right now because I'm pregnant has ruching in it.
That was my suit postpartum, was a ruched suit.
It offers more flexibility, and it also creates this sort of like draping effect of the fabric that skims across the parts of your body that you want to de-emphasize. So it can be flattering. A lot of people like a ruched suit.
That's lumps and bumps.
That's lumps and bumps. That's texture.
But how about folks, you mentioned you had a 6-foot-tall tester. Mm-hmm. How about folks who are on the taller side?
A big concern that I hear from taller people, and even people who are not that tall like myself, like I'm 5'6", but a lot of suits, especially when you're looking at one pieces, just are not proportioned for a taller body or a longer torso, or even a body with just bigger boobs. So you'll find that they pull down on your shoulders, or they like give you a wedgie, or, they're too high cut in the front and they just feel uncomfortable. For that, my recommendation would be, a lot of brands make swimsuits in different lengths. So you're going to want to look for the brands that offer long or tall versions of their suits. And then the other things you're going to want to look for are like adjustability in the straps. This doesn't solve totally for the proportions, but it helps. Or having any sort of like tie strap system that allows you to sort of customize the fit more to your body, that can be really helpful.
How about if somebody's shopping for a suit, they've just had a baby, or, they're in that first year or so after having a baby, or maybe they're just self-conscious about their belly, in general.
If your quote-unquote problem area is your belly, there's a few things. One, you're probably going to want to have some coverage there. So either a one-piece or, a two-piece with a higher rise, which we found actually a number of like really awesome ones. Two, back to the texture. So whether it be ribbing or ruching or crinkle fabric, creates like a blurring effect. So that can help people feel more comfortable. And then the third thing I would say is just compression.
What is that referring to?
So swim fabrics are compressive. They have some structure to them. They suck you in a little bit. The way that you can kind of assess whether a fabric is more or less compressive is to stretch it. All swimsuit fabrics are going to stretch, but if it's more compressive, it's going to be harder to pull apart.
Okay.
Because the fabric is working harder to keep you in. And that's what gives you that feeling of being like contained or sort of like gently hugged that a lot of people really prefer.
The textured fabric, it takes a little longer to dry,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So that's going to be the type of suit where you may be wet for the rest of the day if you're wearing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could be potentially, if you go swimming every day, you could be wet for the entire summer.
Which may not be good for all your body parts. So maybe get another suit and be able to switch off.
Maybe it's not your only, if you're a frequent swimmer, that's not your only suit.
Yeah.
My last question here is, I think, probably fairly universal, which is recommendations for bodies that fluctuate in size.
For that, we actually have a really great recommendation in the guide that is this swimsuit made of this like super duper stretchy, crinkly fabric. I literally wore this suit. I have this suit and I wore it when I was a size 4 last summer, and it fit me very well. And I tried it on yesterday as a rather pregnant person who's quite a bit larger than I was last summer. And it fit me perfectly.
Wow.
Oh, that's the perfect maternity suit then. Because nobody wants to buy maternity clothing, right? I mean,
no, and especially not a maternity bathing suit. I mean, gosh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right. So what I'm hearing here is when you're thinking about a shape that's going to suit your body, maybe think about the part of the body that you're trying to emphasize or de-emphasize. Think about the kind of fabric you might want. You know, do you want it to be compressive? Do you want it to have a little bit of texture? And then this is a great tip at the end that there are suits that can work with you at a range of sizes. So if you your weight fluctuates or you're going into pregnancy or going out of pregnancy, maybe one of these crinkle suits is a good choice.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to name the brand of this one-size-fits-all almost suit after the break. And Zoe, you're going to run us through some of the other brands that made it to the top picks and who they might suit. Do you get it?
I do get it.
You got it? All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, we chatted with Zoe about some general tips on how to pick a swimsuit, ideally one that you're going to love. Now we're going to get into some of our picks. Zoe, do the brands that you ended up liking most have anything in common?
You know, hopefully they're all things that feel well made, that don't feel like throwaway purchases. And ultimately, they're all things that we just thought were cute. On the style team, like one of our main focuses is finding stuff that we like, stuff that fits our taste and that feels timeless and elevated and cute.
And not just practical.
We purposely didn't look at practical swimsuits.
Well, I'm always very interested in fabric details. I always look at the labels. And I'm curious, for swimsuits, are there any things you should be looking for or looking out for?
So the vast, vast majority of swimwear is going to be made from primarily polyester or nylon. And then you're typically going to see, you know, around 20% of spandex blended in for that stretch and resilience factor. You know, and there's a reason for that. Like those fibers are really durable. They're really strong. They are resilient. They are better at handling sun and chlorine and salt than, say, cotton, for instance. Higher end suits, like in general, I think nylon/polyamide is a more expensive fabric than polyester. generally in like higher end suits, you're probably going to see nylon as opposed to polyester. The nylon suits probably give you more of that like buttery, silky feel. Too much spandex, you go over like 25-ish% and you're probably going to have a suit that's going to like be too stretchy and lose its shape.
How much should people be expecting just in general to spend on a good quality swimsuit, and how long should it last?
Well, the bad news is that swimsuits are more expensive than I want them to be. We generally found that a mid-tier price point is around $150 to $200 for a women's swimsuit.
Yikes.
Yeah. But that's not to say that you can't find less expensive options or more expensive options out there, because they definitely exist. And I think that, where you choose to land should really be based on what you want to get out of this thing. And in terms of longevity,
I'm sure it's dependent on how you're using this suit.
it really, really depends. Like, I'm a person who does not go swimming every day of the summer. And so I have swimsuits that are like 8 years old.
Christine, you're at the beach all the time.
I mean, when I can, it's usually on the weekends.
She's like
I'm
never at
my
work.
laptop
She's
is not at the beach, I
beach.
swear. But I do spend a lot of time in a swimsuit, either at the pool or at the beach or at a lake when I'm visiting family. It comes down to how you're taking care of your suit too,
Absolutely.
right? Are you rinsing out chlorine if you're in the pool? Are you hang drying it? Never dry it in the dryer.
And also don't hang dry it.
No?
No.
Tell me
How
more.
are we dry?
Tell me more.
What?
Does it stretch it out?
Yeah. So
Okay.
any stretchy knit fabric, when it's wet, it weighs more, right? And the weight is going to pull it down and kind of stress the fibers. Over time, that's going to stretch it out of shape.
Would you take a blow dryer and
Yes,
blow
yes,
it down?
that's what you do. No. No, I mean, so this is like in laboratory conditions, how are we taking care of our swimsuits? We are washing them on a delicate cycle in a lingerie bag, or we're hand washing them. And then we are rolling them in a towel to get out the excess moisture. And then we are laying them flat to dry in a well-ventilated area.
I mean, I would do that for a $300 swimsuit.
Yeah.
I think I would, but not
I
for...
wouldn't, and therefore I would not buy.
So you're not a candidate for a $300 swimsuit. Be realistic about like who you are, because in reality, here's another one that's very upsetting is you're not supposed to lay your swimsuit out in the sun to dry.
Says who?
Because ideally, like the more UV exposure
Yeah.
it's getting, the more those fibers are degrading. Now, is it going to like ruin your swimsuit if you do it a few times? No. It's more like if you want maximum longevity out of your suit, it should be laid flat in a well-ventilated and shady area. But realistically, I know I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I am a person who throws their suit, hangs it, by the way, over the like railing of the deck in the sun, and that's how it gets dry. So I also shouldn't buy a $300 swimsuit.
But it's very relatable. Okay, let's talk brands. So, Zoe, there were 7 brands that made the top pick section. And then, of course, there are even more suggestions in the also worth considering section. I want to focus on the top picks and run down these brands. And you can tell us how they made it to the top and who they might be best for.
Yeah.
So let's start with the brand Left on Friday. That was not a brand I was familiar with.
Oh, I know that brand. It's been fed to me so much on Instagram. I have
in your
2 of their
algo?
suits. Yeah.
It's in my algo too. So we loved everything that we tried from Left on Friday. I would say their sort of prevailing aesthetic is very sort of elegant and minimal, classic shapes. All their suits come in like a zillion different colors. And all the suits feel really like buttery and smooth and high quality. The fabric is nice and thick. It's not like wearing a Skims bodysuit, but it has that feeling of being contained, held, kind of.
Okay.
And a lot of people find that very reassuring. And I found the one pieces very like snatching.
They're very flattering. Like I have several friends. We all showed up at a party 2 summers ago, all wearing Left on Friday suits. And we were like so embarrassed that we were
Were
all
they all
wearing
the
the same
same?
suits. Yeah. I mean, it's my demographic, totally. So I think the founders worked at Lululemon or something like that.
Yeah.
So they are kind of going for more of like a athletic branding, at least. Nothing's popping out when you're swimming in them. You could go like swim in the ocean and you're not going to have an issue body surfing or whatever. The only thing that I don't like about them, which I have told you many times, is that they take forever to dry.
It's that thicker fabric.
Yeah, they just take forever to dry. So, but I do reach for my one piece Left on Friday when I just need a solid suit that I'm going to feel good in.
Mm-hmm. I love their one-piece cuts. They have some really good plunging necklines. They have some really good plunging backs. They also make a great high-waisted bikini bottom. And then the other kind of unique thing that they do is that they have a line of, quote, big boob tops. So these are for our D+ ladies. These tops are made specifically with bigger boobs in mind, which is always better than just having a pattern sized up.
What about this brand, You Swim?
So You Swim, this is the brand that I was talking about when I said I put it on yesterday as a 6 months pregnant lady and it fit. You Swim is really cool because all of their suits are made of this extremely stretchy, cushiony, spongy, soft crinkle material that can stretch for days in any direction. So they make one pieces, they make bikinis, they make whatever. We tried a one piece for the guide and they literally come in 2 sizes. One of them fits sizes 2 to 12 and the next size up fits sizes 14 to 24.
It's amazing.
And amazingly, they actually fit who they say they're going to fit. Like when we did our testing, no one had any sizing issues with these suits. We also, on the day that we were doing a photo shoot for the guide, I had ordered both sizes of the suit, one for our smaller model, I think she was a size 4, and another for our larger model who I think was like a 14 or a 16. And the larger suit didn't come in time for the photo shoot. And I was freaking out. And I was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, okay, let's try this. Let's see if the same suit, the 2 to 12 suit, will fit on both of our models. And it did. And if you go on the site now, you can look at the pictures and it looks great on both of them. They do a great job with this fabric. The kind of OG crinkle suit is from a brand called Hunza G that we also tested and we also recommend in the guide. But the You Swim ones, I will say we chose them as our pick because they do come in the 2 sizes that are super inclusive. They're a little less expensive than the Hunza G suits. And so we just felt like, a more inclusive recommendation.
You just mentioned Hunza G. Let's talk about that brand.
Yeah. So Hunza G is the original crinkle suit maker. I will say that their fabric it feels thicker and more compressive. So whereas the You swimsuits are really not compressive at all, the Hunza G ones offer a little more of that like hugged feel. The downside for those is they only come in 1 size, so it's like a lot less inclusive. They're more expensive. But we actually do have a pick from that brand that is not made of a crinkle material, and it's their long sleeve rash guard. And this suit I love so much. It's full coverage, great UPF protection, fully long sleeves, and the neck is like a mock neck, but then it has a zipper down the middle, which you can zip or unzip to your preference to emphasize or de-emphasize or whatever the bust. And it's a very sexy suit. Like it covers you up completely, but it's very sexy. It gives Bond girl kind of vibes.
Oh, nice.
I have never heard the word sexy and rash guard in the same sentence.
Sexy full coverage rash guard.
First time for everything.
Okay, so let's talk about Quince. I am fed a constant barrage of Quince ads on Instagram. And I think a lot of people are curious about Quince because they do sort of these you could call them copies, but they're looking to other brands and sort of doing very close versions of what's on other brands. So I would say that a lot of the Quince suits that I've seen look a lot like the Left on Friday suits, but they're a lot less expensive. You feature one of them as a pick. What did you think?
Yeah, so Quince is a brand that we've tested tons of stuff from them. It's honestly hit or miss. They do some things really well, and they do some things really sloppily. And I honestly wasn't expecting a whole lot out of their swimwear. For some reason, I just thought, I was like, this is a category that they're going to flub. But I was very pleasantly surprised. Their suits are like super affordable. Like the one pieces are, I think they're all $50. And then these bikini separates are all $25. So essentially all the suits are $50. And like you said, Christine, they're taking their design cues from other brands. They're not giving you like design originality, but they're actually executing these things well. In some cases, in my opinion, better than the things that they're copycatting.
What's an example of that? What did it do better than what it was copycatting?
So like we recommend a Quince one piece in our guide that's very, almost visually indistinguishable from this really popular suit from Andy. And the Quince one, it just felt nicer. Like the construction was better. The fabric felt nicer. And I was shocked. And it's less than half the price. And then there are other cases where I think that, like, for instance, the Left on Friday suits are higher quality than the Quince suits. I think the fabric feels nicer. I think the construction is cleaner. I think the designs are cleaner. But that being said, if you don't want to spend $200 on a swimsuit,
which I don't, I've done it, but I don't really want to.
So if you don't want to, then you'll probably be really happy with the Quince suits.
How about this company, Miko?
Miko is a really cool brand. I think they're from Orange County, and they make these sort of like surf-inspired suits. They make one pieces, but we found that their one pieces were generally basically too short for all of us. But they make great bikinis and really clean, modern, chic designs. One thing that I will say about this brand is that from what we tested, their tops are really best for smaller boobs. So even though I loved the bikini tops, I was also like, I can't leave the house wearing this. Like, I'm not comfortable in public wearing this.
The last two brands that you feature in this guide are L'Agence Belle and Monday. Tell me about those two.
So, in very sad news, the L'Agence suit has been discontinued.
Oh,
okay.
Bummer.
Well.
Such is the nature of swim, a seasonal category.
Yeah.
The brand's not making that design anymore. But, I mean, I love that brand. They make really beautiful clothes. It's got, like, this halter neck, which I think, speaking of shapes that flatter people, like, I think a halter is really flattering. The thing that we really loved about it was that it basically has this, like, strap that's threaded through the neckline and around the back. And it works like kind of a pulley system where you can really like customize the length and fit and neckline that you want.
Customization really seems like a key to success here.
Yeah, it really does. And so what about Monday? I don't really know this brand at all.
So Monday makes a lot of really cute things. And one cool thing that they do that, like a lot of brands don't do is they are using plus size fit models. They are using bigger bust fit models. What we did like from this brand was, they had a great supportive bikini that felt really cute on lots of bodies. So, the top had an underwire and really comfy, adjustable band and straps. The bottom was honestly one of the best high-waisted swim bottoms that any of us tried. I am a sucker for like a wide waistband because it like doesn't dig in. It doesn't create any like pinching sensation. If you're curvier, it's a brand to try. It's not necessarily going to work for you, but I think it's nice when we can find brands out there that are maybe trying a little harder.
Yeah.
Hear, hear. All right, Zoe, we've come to the end, which means I get to ask you Kyra's famous final question. What is the last thing you bought that you really loved?
Well, on my way here, I bought a chocolate chip cookie that I ate that I loved. It was really good.
Perfect.
I got it at a coffee shop that's down the street from me that's called Dayglow. I've been treating myself to lots of chocolate chip cookies.
As you
this
should.
pregnancy.
It clearly made you happy. I love that. All right, Zoe, thank you so much for joining us. This was really fun and really helpful.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Christine, what'd you think?
I would love to have Zoe back on.
We will.
I also learned about some brands that I really haven't explored before, so I'll be looking at those. But I'm on a swimsuit moratorium. I can't buy any more this season.
You can look.
I can always look. You know, something that I'm taking away from this episode that I am not very good about in my life is I'm going to wash my swimsuits more. And I will not be hang drying them. I'll be laying them
Apparently
flat.
not.
Or maybe I won't, but we'll see.
I really appreciated hearing about the different textures you might want to consider and what they can kind of do for your body, particularly if you're trying to maybe de-emphasize lumps and bumps. There are ways to think about cut, size, and also material that can help lead you to something that is going to be flattering. I also felt really good hearing that I don't have to spend $200 to get something that fits and flatters.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're not going to wash it every time you swim, then don't spend $200.
Don't look at me like that. If you want to find out more about Zoe's reporting, check out our website. You can see her guide to swimsuits there. And listeners, please feel free. Send in your questions. Send in the things that are on your mind that you think our journalists here at Wirecutter can tackle. It's The Wirecutter Show at wirecutter.com. Talk soon.
Bye. The Wirecutter Show is executive produced by Rosie Guerin and produced by Abigail Keel. Engineering support from Maddie Mazziello and Nick Pittman. Today's episode was mixed by Katherine Anderson. Original music by Dan Powell, Marian Lozano, Rowan Nemisto, Katherine Anderson, and Diane Wong. Cliff Levy is Wirecutter's deputy publisher and general manager. Ben Fruman is Wirecutter's editor-in-chief. I'm Christine Cyr-Clisette.
And I'm Rosie Guerin.
Thanks for listening.
But I wouldn't ever wear it on its own just because it would be too, for my comfortability level, too porny. But but they're not supposed to look porny. They look really tasteful and cute on
a smaller bust.
On a smaller bust.
Yeah,
yes.
okay, that makes sense.